Good morning. It is Thursday, March 31st, 2022, and coming to you from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington, this is the Best Lamb Sports Show. I'm letting it go longer.
You should. It's a good song.
Gotta let everybody get their coffee.
It's a good song.
And nobody ever gets to hear the whole thing. That's the deal.
I mean, it isn't really different.
But it's going to change. It changes here in a little bit. That's the thing, see? That's what I'm saying. If you don't play the whole thing.
Oh, there it goes.
See? See? I thought I would try that. Fun so everybody can hear the actual whole thing. Anyway, and I'm your host, David Lamb. With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
So, yeah. So, how you doing this morning?
Tired.
Yeah, it's because you were out last night.
I went to the Blazer game.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
In a couple seconds. So, yeah, hold on to your thoughts.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Holding them.
Good. We are streaming on YouTube. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamb Sports Show. And you can send us an email, lambsports@gmail.com. Please check out our webpage. You can find links to the past shows and the current trivia question on www.lambsports.com. March Madness is down to the Final Four. And all that Cinderella nonsense is over. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
The Portland Timbers tied again. The Blazers are still losing. U.S. men's national soccer team qualified for the World Cup. That's big news. I mean, considering I didn't think they'd do it. I honestly didn't. And then what else?
It did seem like they were headed to not, but whatever.
Right? And we're also going to talk about Formula One, right? Second race of the season. Some NFL news. We've got Jerry Jones, Tiger Woods.
Like Woods, y'all.
In the news. So lots of stuff to talk about. So let's start it by saying that the first part of the show is brought to you by The Range in Yakima. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting destination. If you haven't checked them out, go to therangellc.com, and you can find all of the training, membership, and VIP information and opportunities. Check out their calendar under events, and you can find the complete schedule for the month. You can enroll for most of the events and training online with a few simple clicks. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 7, Sunday 11 to 5. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number is 509-571-1449. That's The Range. Educate, equip, and empower. So, that being said, let's talk about the Final Four.
Okay,
we'll start there. College
Okay.
basketball. So, looks like the madness has stopped finally. Number 9 seed North Carolina beat 15-seeded St. Peter's 69-49 on Sunday to win the East and end the Peacocks' Cinderella run through the tournament. They were a great story. It was a good story.
it's an all right story.
Well, I mean, it's the furthest a 15 seed has ever gone.
Eh.
And then they got demolished.
Every time a 15 seed or a 13 seed or a 10 seed makes a deep run to the tournament, all I go is, man, you guys aren't very good at picking tournaments. Like the committee isn't. You aren't very good at doing this job.
Clearly.
But then I'm sitting here looking at the end of it all, and I'm seeing two 2 seeds, a 1 seed, and a 8 seed, and I'm like, all right, they kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the end, it turns out to be 4 blue blood programs, really. And by blue blood, they're all wearing blue, by the way.
All wearing blue.
That's
they're
a
all one of those, that historical group.
Yeah. This is an interesting group. But so the loss by St. Peter's was, expected. You knew that at some point in time that was going to end. There was no way they're going to run through this whole thing.
Yeah.
But also, see, number 1 seeded Kansas beat up on 10 seed Miami 76-50 to clinch the Midwest region. Kansas has really been untested, except for Providence gave them a pretty good.
They've gotten a very lucky go of it all.
Yes, they have. You also had number 2 Villanova defeated number 5 Houston 50-44 to win the South. That game was closer than I thought it would be, but go Villanova. They're in the Final Four.
Go Nova.
And if you believe in conspiracy theories, 2nd-seeded Duke beat 4th-seeded Arkansas 78-69 to give head coach Mike Krzyzewski a chance at one more national championship.
What do you mean if?
I mean, yeah. So Duke.
I watched this team get absolutely carried against Arkansas.
And Duke will face North Carolina in the NCAA tournament for the first time ever.
Yeah,
I find that hard to believe.
Even more
Even more
adding to the
conspiracy. Yeah.
mystical final season.
We made it match up so that these two would play each other, and it would be a rivalry game in the semifinals. Whoa, wouldn't that make for good TV?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and by the way, since 1920, UNC and Duke have met 257 times. So North
Sounds right.
North Carolina 142, Duke has 115 wins, and so the fact that they've never played in an NCAA tournament just means that the NCAA tournament was probably looking out for both of them and scheduling them on different sides of the bracket.
Yeah, I want to put them there. You want them to meet in the final if they're going to meet.
Right. So this year they made it a little less. Well, the other semifinal, let's talk about that one for a minute. Villanova takes on Kansas. The winner of the last 3 NCAA tournament games between these two schools has gone on to win the national championship.
Nice.
So, who you got, Parker? Who's the team?
Well, like for it all?
Yeah, which one of these 4?
I'm going to pick Duke, but only because I feel like that's what is going to happen.
Okay.
Not because it should happen, or not because it's the right. I think it's going to be made to happen. I think this UNC Duke game is going to be an all-time classic, and it's going to hinge on some interesting foul calls down the stretch.
Okay.
So,
And you think the winner? What happens? Okay, but let's say North Carolina wins. Do you think they can beat Villanova or Kansas?
yeah.
Okay, so any of these 4 teams,
I think they could. I think any of the 4 teams can win.
Yeah.
I think that Kansas might have the most confidence because they've so easily strolled through, and that could either bite them or help them. They could either play at a really high level because they have nothing to fear. They haven't had anything to fear, or that could jump up and realize, oh crap, we've underestimated every opponent we've played.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Kansas is the if I didn't think there was a league conspiracy, I would probably take Kansas.
I looked at them when I saw them and I said, okay, this is 3 of the top 10 teams in the country with no doubt.
Yeah.
And North Carolina, who is the hottest team coming in probably and playing the most complete basketball. I don't know. So I don't know. I
want North Carolina to win it.
I would not be surprised if North Carolina won it. I wouldn't any of these 4. If you told me that any of these, yeah, okay, I can buy that. So that's the one thing that I like about this is that there's going to be probably 3 really good basketball games. I'm hoping because the teams are pretty even. I think. If I had to pick, I'd pick Duke too. I wouldn't pick against Duke. Not right now.
Yeah, that's like picking against LeBron the year he got AD.
Right.
You didn't feel like it was a good idea.
Right. Yeah, I never feel comfortable in the NCAA tournament picking against Duke. Just it doesn't matter what seed they are. I just never feel comfortable picking against them. So anyway, so that's going to bring us to the Best Slam Sports Show trivia question brought to you by Stave & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River, which is just too long a name. I'm fixing that. I'm working on it. What? Here's your question. You ready?
Yep.
What 2 teams are tied for the most NCAA tournament appearances without ever winning a game in the NCAA tournament?
2 teams tied for the most without ever winning a game.
Yeah, they've each been the most to the NCAA tournament. I wasn't going to tell you how many, but I guess I'll tell you how many. They've each been 8 times to the NCAA tournament and never won a game.
I'm gonna tell you my thought process right here.
Go ahead.
Is that it's a team that has just crushed small conferences.
Could be.
Well, at least one of them is like somebody from like a Belmont or something like that who's just mauled small conferences for a long time.
Right.
And then they get to the dance and they're like, crap, we got to play somebody now.
All right.
Yeah, I would say Gonzaga could be in that,
but they've won a tournament.
But they've won tournament.
Belmont
games,
has too, by the way. So just
Belmont has too. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some. It's an interesting question because I thought about it long and hard and I was like, this is a good question. I wouldn't have known the answer. I wouldn't have gotten it.
Oh, okay. Well, then I probably won't.
Yeah, but it once I saw the answer, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So anyway,
okay.
Yeah. So it's one of those kind of questions where you feel like it's really tricky and hard, and it's really not. But it's just you have to think about it for a while. So
I got like 40 minutes.
You got 40 minutes. You should get on it. Get on it. All right. So we're gonna switch gears and go to the what are we going to? We're gonna talk about the Timbers real quick. Portland Timbers tied Orlando City on Sunday. Surprise, surprise. At Providence Park, 1-1. Christian Paredes' goal in the 80th minute tied the score at 1. Portland's now 1-3-1 on the season. That's 1 win, 3 ties, and 1 loss. Exactly 500, by the way. And I mean, 5 games you play, 3 of them have been ties. We talked about the ties in that one episode a couple of weeks back, but I don't like them. I just don't like ties. I'm tired of ties. It doesn't settle anything. And sports are supposed to settle something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like a team getting into the playoffs based on they've had 7 ties or 12 ties or however many ties. That kind of a thing. And we have more points than you because you didn't lose. We didn't lose. We didn't win, but we didn't lose. Um, anyway, they have 6 points on the season. They're tied for ninth in the Western Conference right now. Timbers' next game is Sunday. But my little slideshow's not playing, by the way.
Eh.
I thought it was supposed to.
Well, heck, I got a sweet Timbers logo on my end.
I know, right? You did, but I don't have to play it. The slideshow's not playing. Is it going to play? I don't know. Maybe it's not. It's just a logo. Technical difficulties. Whatever. Hey, there you go. Look at that. There's a goalie and everything. They got everybody. So Timbers' next game is Sunday, April 3rd versus the LA Galaxy at Providence Park. It's got a 1:30 kickoff. The Galaxy, by the way, also have 6 points on the season. So if you're a Timbers fan, hang in there. Usually Portland gets better in the second half of the season, makes a run at something. They're not bad right now. They're just not good. I mean, there's nothing to say. We tie every game. It's not exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting for excitement.
What a waste! What a waste of time.
Wait, what a waste of a day, right? To go watch a game that ends in a tie. It was tied before it started. We didn't have to play.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We could have all just agreed to not do this.
Right. We could have just stayed home. It would have been great. Let's talk about the Portland Trailblazers because we need to.
Right on.
They're continuing to lose. Since beating Memphis, by the way, on February 16th, Portland is 2-15, and now stands 27-49 on the season. Which we know that they're unceremoniously tanking. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard. They played New Orleans at the Moda Center last night, dropped one more to the Pelicans, 117-107 in C.J. McCollum's return to Portland, and Parker was at the game. Parker, how was it?
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. There was always, anytime CJ got the ball, people started clapping.
Yeah.
So, and he had a good, I don't know, it might have been the longest ovation I've ever seen. He got a good 3 minutes, 3-minute standing ovation to start the game.
Right.
And then at the first timeout, they did his like little video tribute.
Nice.
Which was, he got another standing ovation. But yeah, his first bucket, everyone clapped like really, really loud and things like that. And at the end of the game, everyone clapped for him because he's the one who held the ball as the game ended. So yeah, it was really cool. If you went expecting anything from so the Blazers it helped them to win this game, kind of beat down the Pelicans a little bit and help that potential draft pick. So
yeah,
you could tell they were trying to win this game.
Yeah,
but I mean, I know names of guys on the court and things like that, but I don't know these people.
I
don't know this team. I'm staring across and looking at Nasir Little, Damian Lillard, and all just sitting on the bench, and Nurk all sitting on the bench together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on here? And then on the court, I'm like, there are people that we got like 3 guys on the court on 10-day contracts.
I mean, Drew Eubanks. Come on, people.
Drew Eubanks had a big day, though. He went off pretty big, and he did against Valanciunas. So
yeah.
It was fun to be at, though. It was really cool. It was my second game of the season that I've been to. First one was a loss as well.
Well, there's a pretty good chance of that, though.
That was early in the season before we traded CJ.
Before Dame got hurt.
Before Dame got hurt, yeah. So we weren't in tank mode yet.
Well, the one I went to, they had just gotten rid of CJ. So the first game after CJ was gone was against the Bucks, and they just got hammered. Because Dame was out, CJ was out. There's nobody, and they lost by 30-something to the Bucks at home, and it was bad. It was just bad from the get-go. Well, Giannis hit like 5 3-pointers in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So yeah, you knew it was bad then because he doesn't have to shoot 3-pointers to beat you.
If Giannis hitting 3-pointers, you're having a bad night.
It's bad. It's bad. Yeah, and I'm looking at the Blazers starting lineup, and that's Drew Eubanks, Greg Brown III, Brandon Williams, C.J. Ellaby, and Keon Johnson. And I know a couple of them, but I don't know really. I wouldn't be able to pick them out of a crowd.
I know. It's funny because I know all the guys because I remember a lot of them in college, or I remember a lot of them from other teams and things like that, or I've seen them around this one like C.J. Ellaby. But Greg Brown is the only person I think on that floor. Maybe Drew Eubanks with the way he's been playing, but Greg Brown's more than likely the only person that's going to persist into next year and still get minutes and things like that when everyone comes back and when all the dust settles for all that we do. But here's the real question: how do you feel about? We started up in the 300 level. That's where our tickets were.
Yeah.
And then I went with my buddy AJ, who's been on here before back in the day,
Oh yeah.
and his two friends, Connor and Addie. And at some point they were like, "Hey, we're gonna slide down to some better seats."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "All right, you guys go get the seats and you let me know." And they did. Sure enough, next thing you know, we get a text with a row and a seat and everything like that, and we walked down there. And I'll tell you, when I came, because I'm in a walking boot right now. When I came in to like the row area, like the top of it where there was a guy,
Yeah.
AJ just walked right past, and I stopped for a second. I was like, "Oh man, I'm so tired of walking." And the guy was like, "Oh, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine. Just a couple more rows to go. All right, I'll see you later." And I just started like personalize myself for a second,
Yeah.
so he wouldn't think about it. But the
Right.
question is, how do you feel about the seat jumping?
It doesn't bother me. If they're empty, they're empty. I
I feel
mean,
like you give people a quarter and a half to
um,
show up to the game,
yeah.
and if you haven't shown up by a quarter and a half,
I
you forfeit your seats.
my personal belief is after halftime it's game on. So it doesn't matter after halftime. So if you're at least at that point, I mean, a quarter and a half, yeah. I mean, I get it, but
Who doesn't show up for a quarter
I
and a
don't.
half?
People,
Especially
LA
when
in LA they don't because of
you
the
know it's
fashionable
you.
people.
Well, that's true. That's true. You know it's a loss because we're tanking,
That's true. There's
right?
probably a
So
lot of empty seats.
you know it's a loss, but it's also CJ McCollum's homecoming.
Yeah.
The time to be there was when he's being introduced.
Right. Absolutely.
If you weren't there then, you didn't really need to be there
You missed it
anymore.
all.
Yeah, you missed all of the excitement. So, but yeah, we ended up sitting in these seats, and there were two girls to my left, and they asked how I got in the boot and things like that. We started talking, and I was like, "Are these your normal seats?" And they're like, "No." And so
No.
I think that like eight or nine people in a row around us,
Yeah.
these were not our seats for any of us.
Oh yeah. Well.
We all had just snuck down there, and it becomes a really nice community feeling when everyone around you is doing the same bad thing.
Yeah. Well.
When you're all cheating the system, it's like, all right, we're doing this
I
right.
I don't feel like it's I don't feel at that point I don't feel like it's a bad thing. I feel like it
Yeah,
looks better on TV if everybody's down there close.
Y-
You know, the seats
that's
are
it's
full.
true. Yeah, you definitely want those 100 level seats filled. It always grinds my gears when I see 100 level seats just like that are dead on camera, and there's like a strip of like 8 or 9 of them. Like we couldn't get anybody to fill these seats.
Well, we could, but the people that own them still want a lot of money for them. And you're like, if you're not gonna be there, and you know you're not gonna be there, you just gotta get rid of those seats. I mean,
We
make it
we
affordable so someone can come sit in them.
we got to get there needs to be an attendance rate that is a requirement to maintain
There is some of those some places.
seats. Well, I know there is for courtside,
Right.
but I mean it needs to be an attendance rate for
Right.
you as the season
The
ticket
season.
holder.
Correct.
I don't want you selling all of your tickets or the people that don't show up or whatever and things like that.
Right.
And if they don't, and if you, let's say you do and they don't show up, I want that to negatively affect you.
Right.
Yeah. So next year, if your attendance rate's 90% and above, you'll qualify for the same tickets next year. If it drops below, then you will not be allowed to sit in the same section. You're gonna move on down to the 200s. Sorry about that.
Right.
You go
Okay.
courtside club
I,
100, 100, 200. Yeah, you go like that.
I agree with that. There are some teams that do that. They have yeah,
Some people
attendance
just got too much money.
regulation. That's true. Some people just don't care. They bought the season tickets, and if are we good? Okay, I'll go. Are we not good? I'm not going.
And Nick Saban has that for the fraternities and sororities. After remember that a couple years ago when they kept leaving
Yeah.
they kept leaving Alabama games at halftime, and he was like, "All right, let's knock this off. If you don't stay for the whole game, we're gonna take your tickets away."
Yeah, which I don't find okay, by the way, because
Ooh.
if your team if you're that is my seat, and I have the right to come and watch half a game if that's all I have time for, or if your team is so good that it is uninteresting after halftime, that's
Right.
not on me. That's not my fault. It's your fault. You guys are too good. If you weren't this good, if the games were closer, I would stay. But they're not, so why should I?
All right. But you knew they were going to shellac,
Oh yeah,
such
absolutely.
and such community college.
Yeah.
Why'd you even show up at all?
But it's fun to
Why'd you
watch.
show up for one quarter just to
It's fun to watch that
be a
first
little
quarter.
a little drunky drunk in the crowd and then
Yep.
walk and then leave?
Got parties to go to. There's things going on. College
Yeah.
kids is different. It's a different thing. I don't like the
College,
idea.
I actually agree with the attendance stuff more when it's related to because like the thing about Alabama is that they gave whole entire fraternities and sororities sections.
Yeah, that's different then.
Then you're attaching yourself to the school and things like that. Like, then I do want you to be there. But as like a normal person who just bought a ticket, I want you to come to the game. If you leave early, it's hit or miss. But yes, if your seat is empty after halftime, it is fair game, and everyone should be able to just jump on it, and that's tough. So, but the problem is you're gonna get people who will like start flooding down the seats, and somebody's just grabbing popcorn,
Right.
and then they come back and they're like, oh, there's like people in my seats. It sucks.
Right.
So
So
that's
yeah.
why that's why you have to get it during the second quarter
Right.
before people make the exit for popcorn,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely popcorn and not well at
beer,
and not beer.
hot dogs.
You'd be gone for a long time trying to get beer like at a Duck game. I mean, there's a long line and everyone's
Yeah.
doing it, and it takes you a while to come back because Anyway, never mind. All right, we'll talk about that at a
Moving along.
later at a later time. We also want to talk about the fact the Lakers are still bad.
Still bad.
Lakers continuing to drop games. Dropped their third straight game to Dallas. When was that? That was Tuesday night. 128-110. They look bad, and even worse when AD and LeBron aren't playing. It was just a bad basketball team at that point. They were 24-24, by the way, after 48 games. They've gone 7-20 since then. So, I mean, injuries, okay, but there was always going to be injuries. So I guess they got together, right? And they did their thing the first year, and now they're just not. So next year they won't be a thing. You know that's coming. Everybody knows that's coming. I think.
I don't know that they're going to break up next year. But I definitely know that most of this team won't be there.
Right.
The majority of this team will not exist.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I think
Bell's going to be given a, hey bud, you're eating up salary cap. We had fun for a year, right? We had good times. But we need
right?
you to leave, or we're going to make you leave.
Yeah. Right.
You can do this with dignity, or we can cut you.
Right. So, and then also we got to talk about the Eastern Conference is heating back up. I watched the Heat and the Celtics last night.
Great game.
That was a great basketball game.
People in the stadium were were wanting them to put that game on the jumbotron,
right?
Instead of watching our game.
It was really, really good. The Heat managed to win. They found a way to win. The Celtics were good. It was both good and bad basketball when I watched it, which was kind of funny because there was a lot of great plays. And I watched Marcus Smart make 2 or 3 tremendous passes to set up baskets in the third and fourth quarter for the Celtics. And I watched a lot of crappy passes from some guy. I watched a lot of it was good and bad at the same time watching the Heat and the Celtics. But that's what made it good was that neither team was so good they were better than the other team. They were just even to me. And that would be a tremendous series in the playoffs, I think, if you had the Heat and Celtics. But also, so the Heat lead the East by a game over the Bucks, 2 games over the Celtics and Sixers. So any of those 4 could still win the East. You still have like 6 games left. And so, I mean, it would not surprise me if any of them were the number 1 seed. And any of those series would be good. And then you have this next group of teams, the Bulls and the Raptors and the Cavaliers. And it looks like
those are some interesting teams.
The Bulls and the Raptors are 5 and 6, and then the Cavs are 2 back of that. They're in that play-in stage. And then behind them, you have the Nets, the Hornets, and the Hawks battling for 8, 9, 10. And everybody else is out. I mean, that's pretty much, those are going to be your playoff teams. Everybody else is pretty much out. They're just going to be eliminated next week or next game they play, probably.
I remember last year at the end of the season when everyone was like, oh, Hawks, Knicks, that's the future of the East.
Yeah.
And now you're like,
not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
the East is kind of more fun to watch this year.
It has been a lot more fun. Well, the Phoenix Suns are, that team. They've already clinched the best league record. Nobody can catch them, and they're going to be number 1 in the West. So there's that. And then Memphis is in, Dallas is in, and then Golden State, who's been struggling. Golden State is 3-7 in their last 10. They're down to 4, and looking like a first-round matchup with Denver. I don't think that's a good look.
I don't think whoever you are, you want to see playoff Steph and playoff Clay and playoff Draymond.
It's true, but I think
like you might feel good that they're struggling a little bit, but they can't get to the 1. They can't really raise that much. I guess they could. They could if they went on a really big tear, but they couldn't really raise that much from the time they got Draymond back. So now it's all about redeveloping your fit and lulling people to sleep. I think this is Steve Kerr saying, "Hey, let's Let's be cool for a few minutes, and
Was
people will underestimate us.
Well, there's only 5 games left for Golden State. They played 77. So there's only 5 games left. They literally could end up 7th
If they lose them all.
if they keep losing them all and the right things occur. But I mean, there's a legitimate chance they could be 6th, and that would be a struggle too, because then you ain't gonna go on the road. All of Golden State's success ever has been from being the 1 or 2 seed, where they get the home court all the way through for the most part. Just saying. But this is a different team. They don't look dominant all the time like they have before.
Well, you're dealing with post-injury. You're dealing with post-injury Clay, and you're dealing with post-injury Draymond, who just got back. So
right.
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be a problem or not.
Still
but I would say it's tough.
Still putting my money on Phoenix.
I put my money on them last year, and they just disappointed me.
Yeah.
They tried to lose 2 different series. They did lose one, and they tried to lose to the Clippers. So I don't know.
That's true.
Having the best record in the NBA don't mean nothing if you can't win.
I guess that's true. That's true. All right. Anyway, so let's talk about it's halfway, give or take. Let's call it the halfway point, because that's what we do. Got to be good at something. I'm good at calling it the halfway point. So Boss Kitty, second half of the show, always brought to you by BossKittyShop.com and BossKittyLive.com. Boss Kitty hand-dyed yarns. Be sure to tune in to BossKittyLive.com for knit-alongs, games, fun, exclusive sales. Go on the BossKittyShop.com website there and get your I can't say it, kitty glitter yarn. Woo! It's
kitty
soft
glitter yarn.
Kitty glitter. It was not coming out. It's soft, sparkly, and out of this world. Looking for a gift? Get them a Boss Kitty Shop virtual gift card and let them pick it out themselves. That's Boss Kitty hand-dyed yarns. Yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. Second half of the show, we're going to start with Formula One, because that's what we do. Formula, that's right. And Saudi Arabian Grand Prix at the Jeddah circuit there. It's not the Jeddah circuit. It's called this Jeddah. It's in Jeddah. I can't remember what the track is called.
In Jeddah.
What's the track called?
I thought it was called the Jeddah circuit.
The Jeddah Corniche circuit. That's what it's called. Yeah. So
but no one wants to say Corniche. They just call it the Jeddah circuit.
Agreed. Max Verstappen passed Charles Leclerc on lap 47 of 50 and held him off for the next 3 laps. Even though Leclerc recorded his fastest lap of the race during that time, as he tried to catch Verstappen. This is Verstappen's, obviously, Red Bull's first points of the season, which was fantastic for them. They needed to come back in it. Verstappen's Red Bull teammate, Sergio Perez, won the pole during qualifying on Saturday, wound up 4th in the race after some unlucky pit stop timing early. He had the lead for the 11 laps and then decided to pit early just before the safety car came out.
He was bamboozled.
He was a little bit.
And the safety car actually kind of saved that from being worse.
Kind of, yes, because otherwise he'd have been way down.
Yeah. I think that was some good hoodwinks by Ferrari there.
Yeah, it's part of the game, teasing people. We're gonna go in. We're not gonna go in. It's part of all that communications. Plan A, Plan B, whatever it is.
Well, even with that though, I don't think that last year I ever saw a pit crew come out and simulate getting ready.
Right.
Because they're saying that, he just chose not. Like, some people will say he just chose not to come in. It's like, no.
Yeah,
he never said he was coming in. They mentioned something about it. They came out and got ready, and on the video, it didn't look like there was any doubt.
Yeah, it was fairly well orchestrated.
Yeah. And that caused, and them saying that caused Sergio Perez to pit.
So Leclerc's Ferrari teammate, Carlos Sainz, finished 3rd. It was Red Bull's first points, like I said, for 2022, and it was Ferrari's second straight race with 2 podium places. So, well done, Ferrari. They seem to have figured it out early. We're going to know more here in the next race.
Yeah.
Mick Schumacher had the spectacular crash on Saturday in Q2 that kept him out of the race. Wow. Was that rough?
It was a doozy.
That was a doozy.
It looked good.
Yeah, if you can see the pictures on the screen of, his car was $1 million worth of damage. But anyway, that was just a crazy crash. Lewis Hamilton failed to make it out of Q1. That was unexpected.
Is it unexpected at this point? I mean,
out of Q1, yeah. I mean, Q2, I could see it happening because he's been around 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
So dropping to 10th or 11th wouldn't. But out of Q1, yeah, that's really weird.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. It's first time in a long time he hasn't made it out of Q1. Kevin Magnussen placed ninth and scored points again for Haas. 2 races in a row for Kevin
Woo!
Magnussen. What?
Let's go Haas.
Well, he needs to because the other guy crashed.
By the way, I went online to try and buy a Haas hat.
Yeah.
You can't find their products
Yeah.
because they pulled all of their products off the websites because it all has
Oh, the branding.
the branding, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's such a bummer because I want a damn Haas hat.
Everything had that Ural. I don't know how to
Ural
pronounce
Kai,
Yeah.
Orkalai, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
that branding on it.
It sounds
Yeah.
like a type of the orcs from Lord of the Rings.
the Urukai.
The Urukai. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
It's nice.
But yeah, I'm trying to get a hat and I can't get one. It's pretty frustrating.
So after 2 races, Leclerc leads the driver's standings with 45 points. Carlos Sainz is in second with 33. Verstappen moved into third with the 25 points he has. George Russell is fourth with 22 for Mercedes.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton fifth. Anyway, so next race is April 10th at Australia. So you got a week off to recover before they hit a different kind of race in Australia.
Yeah.
A little bit different kind of course. So you're going to see some interesting racing at the Melbourne Grand Prix circuit. So anyway, I like it so far. It has kept cars closer. I mean, the winning margin in this was half a second, and just barely held him off. I think had that race been any longer, Leclerc would have found a way to pass him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Ferrari it looks like a true dominant number one.
Yeah, their team looks better. We'll see how Red Bull, if they stay in the money like that, Ferrari for the rest of the season, there's nobody going to catch them. But that's the way that Mercedes always did it. They always put 2 guys on the podium, and you can't catch them in the Constructors' Championship. There's just no way.
Yeah.
So it looks like that right now. But I guess we'll find out when we hit the different kinds of circuits and we start doing different races. So
Yeah.
Qualifying will be key in a lot of places where you don't pass, like Monaco and those kind of places. So
That's true. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Interesting. So it'll be fun.
It's an exciting year so far.
It is. It has been. I like it so far. I'm on board with the changes. And some people say, "Oh, it looks so slow," or what. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. As long as the racing is good, I don't care.
And they're going like 200 miles an hour. I don't care how.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't care. I don't care if they lose 10.
There's no difference between. To me, there's no difference between 205 and 210.
Yeah.
It's still fast, and you can see what happens when they crash. Holy moly!
You kind of have to want to be nitpicky about the speed if
right.
you don't like it. Yeah.
Right. And I like the fact that there's other teams scoring points and there's different guys in the championship race.
I do like that.
It's different, so it's more funner.
Yeah, but this is what's it called? Everyone's complaining though that the sport is becoming Americanized.
Well, kind of, because more Americans are watching it.
Well, more Americans are watching it. And there's a lot of money in Americans, and but yeah, they're complaining that it's all these decisions, all these rules, all the competitiveness. It's it's too American, and I'm like, how is being competitive too American? I'm confused about how that's a concept that some people don't agree with. Like, why would you not want people to be more competitive all the time?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, and if you haven't ever watched a Formula One race, I suggest you first watch Talladega Nights, and then you'll get a little brief taste of it. It was just on the other day, by the way. It was just hilarious. I watched it, and I was like, yeah, kind of. So,
watching Jean Girard
in the Perrier car.
The Perrier car, that's right.
I like that.
The French car.
Sorry, that was funny. So let's talk about the NFL for a bit. NFL announced on Monday that all 32 teams must add a minority offensive coach, and it has to be, quote, female or a member of an ethnic or racial minority, end quote. What do we think of this rule? I mean, how do you feel about it when you heard it? Is it something that is going to make any kind of a difference, or is it? It sounds like we're telling you have to do this, right? And we're going to, and the rules are they're going to pay it out of a separate fund. The NFL's got a fund that they're going to pay these coaches out of, which I don't understand because no other coaches get paid out of a separate fund, but these ones will. So we're going to make you hire a coach, but we'll pay for it. Which doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't sound like, it sounds like this is you're going to have a token coach. That's what it sounds like. And I don't like that because it isn't someone you really necessarily pick. It's someone that it doesn't matter now. I can make them a coach, and the other team, the NFL will pay for it, and I don't have to worry about it. So
it's an extra free coach.
It is.
So if you think about it that way, you get an extra brain, extra hands, extra set of insight for $3 to your team. For now, I think eventually it'll shift back to cost will be on the team. I just think it's paid out of a fund for a while.
Right.
But so it's an extra free coach. If you think about it like that, it's not a bad deal for the teams. I don't have a problem with it because they've tried to ask nicely for teams to stop being, the club that they're being and think a little outside the box because they've just tried to ask and teams aren't doing a good job at it. But
Yeah,
that's all it is.
it's
If
true.
teams were just doing it, and this is where you're gonna get into the keyboard warrior thing, like, well, it should just be best qualified. It's like, and if you have two guys that are equally qualified, and one of them just happens to be white, and that's who you hire because you're Jerry Jones, like, is it a thing then? Like, that's the issue with it is if there are plenty of qualified people out there who aren't getting a shot and nobody can really explain why.
Right.
Nobody can explain why coaches just make the circuit as losing coaches and there
Right.
aren't other ones. Like, I don't even think it comes down to just minorities in that regard. I don't understand how some coaches just stay in the league.
Right.
They're terrible and they just stay there.
I've always said there's only like 40 NFL head coaches. There's 32 active at any time, and there's these 8 other guys who were crappy last year.
Yeah.
And next year they'll get another shot with another team because for some reason those are the coaches. It just rotates around.
And so that's more my issue is that I think it's like, all right, by adding a new assistant, it's probably going to be a younger person. It's probably going to be somebody who isn't as established as these people, especially since they're free. You might as well take a chance on somebody, right?
Right.
So I'm not against it. It doesn't seem wrong, and them being paid out of a fund is a little funky, but that was the way you made it, that impact less, made team owners less bummed about having to do it. Is like, well, you don't even have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, fine, I guess we'll do it then. And it's interesting. It's an interesting decision, but I don't think it's an impactful one. I don't think it's impactful for people, minorities who are trying to get into the league, but I don't think it's impactful to how the league is going to work and the product you're going to see on the field or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know how it will affect the product. I really don't. Other than, I mean, an extra set of coaches. You're right. An extra coach couldn't hurt. Extra input. If they're going to listen to them. That's the other thing. Is that they're supposed to be able to work closely with the head coach. Blah blah blah. There's rules and all, but I'm like, how do you determine whether they're working closely or not with the head coach? You know what I mean? Or if they're even listening to their advice at all.
Right.
So
or if they're just, what's it called? If they're just filling, like, checking the box, and then every time they have to put like a report about it, they just say they they did it or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough, but
so
it doesn't matter.
And I got a picture up right now of Mike McDaniel, who's the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and he is the least sports looking head coach in the NFL. I mean, to me, I looked at him when I was like, he does not look like a NFL head coach. He just doesn't. I mean, something, all of it just doesn't look right. And I'm trying to figure out how you become an NFL head coach if maybe you've never played NFL football or even college football. I don't know what his history is. I really don't. I haven't looked it up yet. But I'm just looking at him going, this is not a football player. He knows he's doing something else. But I don't know. Interesting. It's just interesting to look at. When I look at him, I was like, this is the guy who's coaching the Miami Dolphins? Okay.
He's been coaching for 17 years.
I know. But I'm just saying, he does not look like a football player, like a former player. He does not look like an NFL head coach. He looks like someone you'd find doing something tech related. To me.
Hey, you know what? What's it called? The guy who developed the system for Moneyball didn't look like he played sports either.
That's true.
Also, Mike McDaniel played at Yale.
Oh, well, that explains it.
Yeah, so he's a smart guy.
That's why he doesn't look like an athlete. He looks like a smart guy because he is. That explains a lot.
Yeah. I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to look like one. Like, does it make you think he's less qualified?
Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Not right. It doesn't to me.
I mean, look at. Okay, I'm just gonna give an example. Look at Ron Rivera, who played football, and you can see him. He's big and he's strong and he looks like a football player. He looks like he knows football.
Yeah.
He just when you look at him, and Mike McDaniel does not. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying he doesn't look that way. That's all I'm saying. I'm not. You don't have to look that way, but it's just weird now that we're starting to get coaches that They don't look like football players, and
Yeah, but on
it's
the flip
different.
side, you got Bruce Arians with his big old beer gut, who's been
But
coaching for 20 years,
but
30 years.
but you could look at him and think, man, 30 years ago or 50 years ago, you played football probably.
Yeah, before there was targeting, you could have played football.
Oh yeah.
Before, yeah,
Oh yeah.
I
Before
just before John Elway retired, you definitely played football.
back when you could clothesline guys. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Absolutely.
are. I would say that not the majority, because actually quite a few of them look like they could. Like Brian Flores looks like he could still play
Oh,
football.
absolutely.
Mike Tomlin even looks like he could still play football. He's
Yeah.
old, but he looks like he could.
Yeah.
Shanahan doesn't look like a football, or what's it called? Yeah, Shanahan doesn't look like a football player. Neither does the Sean McVay doesn't look like a football player.
Not really.
They're all
There's-
small. They're not small because I know Shanahan's pretty tall, but
Right.
they all seem like slim statured guys.
There's a picture of all of the coaches at a meeting somewhere. I don't know where they are, somewhere warm. And there's a picture of all of the NFL head coaches at a meeting somewhere. And Sean McVay, you can pick him out immediately as being a coach from LA by what he's wearing. He looks so LA in his picture. He's got the tight pants and the white button-up shirt that's partway unbuttoned with his sunglasses and shoes with no socks. He looks like an LA guy. I'm just like, whoa. Anyway, just interesting to see that I just pointed him out. I was like, there's Sean McVay. You can tell him immediately. Anyway.
Oh, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, he looks like that guy. He looks like an LA guy in that picture. But
who is that? There's a guy who looks like he's about to go outside and mow a yard. I don't know who he coaches, but he does not look
off-season work.
He does not look like the most put together coach out there. He's just wearing like a tan polo and khakis and
right.
looks like some Van slip-ons. I don't know. It's very interesting. This is coaches when they're out of the element look very strange.
They do look very strange. And somebody posted it. I think it was one of the ESPN guys tweeted it out, the picture, and said without any caption, said, how many of them can you name? And I was like 10, 11, maybe just by looking at him. I was like, nope. Andy Reid, I know that one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So also let's talk about Baltimore Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti, who came out and said, hey, the Deshaun Watson's $230 million guaranteed contract with Cleveland will, quote, make negotiations harder with others, end quote. He's not wrong.
No,
because he has a negotiation coming up at the end of the season with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, sucks for him.
And it really sucks for anybody who's about to have a negotiation, by the way. And that includes Justin Herbert. That includes, I don't know, any rookie guy who's on his first 3 years, right? About to end.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of negotiations coming up for quarterbacks. Those quarterbacks are going to get paid heavily because Deshaun Watson said, hey, I didn't even play last year. I got $230 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
Wow. This is going to be an issue moving forward, and it was already becoming an issue. Salaries are already inflated, but it's going to take a huge bite out of your salary cap. What else can you afford on offense? You know, if you want to have a great quarterback and a great defense, those might be exclusive. You might not be able to do that anymore, just because you can't afford it.
Right.
Just saying, that looks like the way that it's heading. I don't know for sure, but I don't think he's wrong. I think he's absolutely right. I think he's going to have to pay Lamar Jackson more than Deshaun Watson because he's probably worth more.
All of a sudden, that 10-year Patrick Mahomes contract seems nice.
Yeah, it looks pretty reasonable now.
when you don't have to pay $40 million a year. Yeah,
looks fairly reasonable, I guess, because they didn't have to pay him up front for one.
Yeah, but an owner complaining about having to pay someone.
Well, it's not uncommon.
It's the biggest grain of salt type comment ever.
That's not uncommon. They're all going to complain about it. I think it's just that they gave this guy a huge contract, basically without having. Deshaun Watson's good. He's going to be a good quarterback. He still has pending issues, though. I mean, he's not out of the woods yet. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But he's not out of the woods yet, and so you're paying him guaranteed money. His whole contract is guaranteed. Why would you do that for someone who may not be allowed to play on your team at some point in time? Number one. Number two, who hasn't played in how long? He's probably still in great shape. He obviously passed a physical or whatever. Great. But he still is not game ready. on day one, maybe. I mean, I don't know. You have to see how
Maybe he is.
maybe he
I
is.
wasn't there at his physical.
You're
Maybe
right.
they came in, they went, wow, this guy's good.
Maybe, and that might have been what sealed the deal. I don't know.
Also, I guarantee there's a provision in his contract. See, the guaranteed money is relative to if you're available and if you're playing.
Oh, probably.
I guarantee you there's something in there that says that if the NFL suspends him
Then it's
as a result of his issues, then that money isn't being paid
sure.
or whatever. So I feel like it's and they paid what they paid for him now. Imagine what he was worth if the NFL opts not to suspend him and everything. I mean, because he's done with all the criminal side of it. I
right.
think. So neither. Well, yeah, we were going to talk about that in a minute, but yeah. So I just they got him. What seems like if nothing else comes of it, they got him for. I'm not going to say a deal, but they got a pretty good deal on him.
Well, maybe we're going to find out. I mean,
Yeah.
real quickly. I don't know how good Cleveland is in general. I mean, we keep thinking they're good, and I wanted to blame Baker Mayfield because I didn't think he was very good. But what if Deshaun Watson goes there and they're still bad? Then it could just be Cleveland. I don't know.
The only thing that sucks for them is that if Deshaun Watson goes there and they have any sort of issues, they lost other pieces. They lost other pieces.
Yeah.
I think is where you start going, dang it, man, you lost other pieces. So maybe you're not that bad. Like, I don't know. You got to give people a year or two to figure it out.
And what are they going to do with Baker Mayfield now? I mean, there's two guys still out there, Baker Mayfield, Jimmy Garoppolo, who I thought were on the trading block already before this offseason started. I thought they were going to be gone. Haven't gone anywhere.
They're holding them hostage.
And the market doesn't bear out them going anywhere. I mean,
there are still teams that need quarterbacks, and as it gets later and later, the value kind of goes, it shifts. But let's say Seattle, for example. If Seattle can't get high enough in the draft,
right,
to take, a quarterback or whatever, then they're going to be looking around going, who's available? And the Browns are going to be like, hey, we got Baker.
Yeah, would they trade for Jimmy G? Would they trade for?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe.
Didn't San Francisco say Jimmy G's off the table?
Well, so he's going to be the starting quarterback next year?
I think that's what they said. Is that he's they're not going to trade him. But being fair,
they always.
Pete Carroll also said we're not trading Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
and then literally 10 days later,
there's a lot of stuff that gets said that isn't necessarily true as a smokescreen or to make it more profitable later. I mean, I don't know. I still think Carolina needs a quarterback, but they've actually even talked to Cam Newton about coming back. I don't understand that one.
I mean, he's serviceable. He's good.
He's okay.
He's better than okay. Okay is like Sam Darnold. Cam Newton's better than Sam Darnold, but he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. So the question is, can you be competitive enough for a year to keep fan interest alive and keep free agent interest alive? That's what Seattle needs to do this year. That's what Seattle's got to work on. They got to stay competitive enough for 1 year to get to free agency next year where there's more movement and things like that, and try and draw people in.
Would you take, if you had a team that, if you're Carolina and you need a quarterback, would you take Cam Newton over Baker Mayfield?
From a heritage standpoint, yes.
Okay. Just because he's been there before.
He's been there before. Fans know him. The fans there liked him. He took you to a Super Bowl.
Right.
Like there's a lot of reasons to like that decision. And Baker Mayfield, I mean, Baker Mayfield's exciting and he does some great things. But the reason why I'm going to do it is because of injuries, actually. Baker Mayfield hasn't been able to stay healthy. He gets injured every single year. And Cam Newton, he's gotten hurt a couple times, but not to the degree that Baker has. So, yeah, I would take Cam Newton over Baker Mayfield. Pretty much any team that I'm doing right now.
All right.
But there are some other ones that I would have. There are other quarterbacks out there that probably would go over both of them.
Right. So, Roger Goodell said on Tuesday that Deshaun Watson could still be disciplined under the league's personal conduct policy as a result of the 22 pending civil lawsuits accusing him of inappropriate sexual conduct. And that's the caveat to Cleveland is this could all still go sideways. If those start becoming verdicts against him, I think, then I don't think the NFL will step in until something like that happens. I don't think they'll punish him because of the lawsuits against him, only if they go actually get adjudicated against him.
Right.
And then they'll do something, which to me is this is a whole OJ thing, right? We're not guilty in criminal court of doing anything. However, you need to pay them however many millions of dollars because you killed someone. And that just seems weird. But okay, that's the way our system is set up. And this could be the same thing. Is that not the same thing? But you know what I mean. You're
Yeah.
not guilty criminally, but civilly, we're going to charge you with all these lawsuits, and some of them are going to be found. You're going to be found guilty. That's not guilty. I guess the judgment it will be against you. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't understand how that all happens, but that's how we do it. So anyway, if any of that happens, I think the NFL will probably suspend him. How long, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's the rule? Is there a precedent, really? Not really. So I don't know. But that's where Cleveland is in that boat. If you picked up Jacoby Brissett as a backup quarterback, who I think is very serviceable as a backup quarterback. I think I watched him play, three
Yeah.
different places. He seems pretty good.
Good enough. Yeah.
Good enough, right, to fill in for a couple games if he needed to. Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Cleveland's going to be an interesting team to watch this year. And that whole NFC or the whole AFC North is going to be interesting to watch because of the Pittsburgh situation is, losing Juju but getting Trubisky. Is he your guy in Pittsburgh? I don't know.
That's another person. Mitch Trubisky is sitting on a team right now that he's not going to start for.
Maybe.
You think he's going to start for the Bills?
No, they traded him.
Oh wait, where'd they trade him?
He's at Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's
he's
right.
going to be. He probably
forgot they did that.
Yeah,
I forgot.
He's going to be the starter.
He's their starter.
He has to be.
Have you seen all those things that pop up like they show two blind quarterbacks stats?
Oh yeah.
And they'll be like, this person has a 68% win percentage. This
Yeah.
person has 63, and you read through them, and you go, well, this guy on the left's better. And it's like Mitch Trubisky, and the right person's, Deshaun Watson. You're
his
like,
numbers,
what?
his numbers look good. He just
they look better than they seem.
Yeah, because you watch him because it's that whole eye test thing. When you watch him play, you go, there's something missing. I don't know what it is, but there's something. And part of that was being in Chicago. They weren't very good. They weren't a great football team. They didn't have much around him to help him be successful. They're better now, but I don't know if they're better off with Justin Fields as opposed to him. Or Nick Foles is on the market too, by the way. Chicago's shopping Nick Foles. Anyway,
Nick Foles' time might be a little past.
It might be.
Might be.
So anyway,
and Andy Dalton just went and signed. So that's one that I feel like the Seahawks whiffed on.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that too. I was gonna mention that,
Okay.
but we can do that now if you want to. It's fine. Not that it makes a big deal, but Andy Dalton signed with the New Orleans Saints to be I'm questioning this, backup quarterback to Jameis Winston, I assume. Although they'll probably go into a competition at some point. I mean, I don't know. Jameis Winston, it's a solid move because Jameis Winston, let's admit, has been hurt the last couple seasons, and I don't know how good, how if you're going to get a full season out of him. I don't know how healthy he is, and so having somebody who's competent, and I think Andy Dalton is another guy who's been kind of underrated and kind of gotten the shaft about the places that he's been after he left Cincinnati.
Yeah, everyone at Dallas gave him grief for coming in for Dak.
Right.
And just I don't know, people were a little brutal on Andy. Poor Andy.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's that also. Let's talk about the NFL's new modification to the overtime rule, shall we?
Yep.
So it's going to supposedly guarantee that each team gets a possession, right, in overtime.
Supposedly?
Well, that's what it's supposed to do, right? That's what we're doing. We're giving each team a possession in overtime. So if the first team that wins a coin flip scores a touchdown, the other team gets a chance to score a touchdown. It's not over after a touchdown. Yeah, they get a chance to respond. So here's my question. I feel like that makes the overtime imbalanced the other direction.
Why?
Because the team who's second, who gets the ball second, now has a chance to play. Either they're going to try and kick a field goal for a win or kick a field goal to tie, or they're going to try and score a touch. They have to score a touchdown if you score a touchdown. They know exactly. It's just like the college overtime where you take the ball second because you know what you need to do now. And you have 4 downs to do it. But if you're the first team that has the ball, you don't want to turn the ball over on 4 downs. You aren't going to go for it on 4th down from your own 20.
Right.
So you'd punt and play with your defense. The other team, the second team, has an advantage in that this first team scored a touchdown. I have 4 downs now. Every down, I'm going to go for it on 4th down every time because I have to score a touchdown. That gives you 1 extra play, is all I'm saying, and every set of downs. as the team that's second. Yeah, you have to score a touchdown just to stay in, but still, you know what you need to do. So I feel like you're going to see a lot of teams who win the coin toss not take the ball first. I'll send my defense out there. If we stop you, now all I need is a field goal to win, right? If we give up a field goal, okay, now we can play regular for a regular touchdown or a field goal to tie. If you score a touchdown, I have 4 downs every set to go down and score.
Well, that in and of itself is telling, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that now you're going to take it second, but in the past you would always take it first.
Correct. But
because there was an emphasis on
right.
when it was important, which just go to show one team possessing the ball was that crucial.
Yeah. I think it changed more than just everybody has a possession. It just changed your strategy in overtime now. It's going to change team strategy, I think.
Yeah, it is, but you at least feel comfortable knowing that you're going to get, like, Josh Allen's not going to sit on the bench for the entire overtime.
Yeah, that was that, and I think that was just the straw that broke the camel's back. It wasn't the whole.
Both of those offenses were absolutely zinging,
on fire.
And what you got was Josh Allen riding the pine for 4 minutes,
right,
while Kansas City just walked down, scored, and sent him home.
Right.
And that's unfortunate.
And
from a entertainment perspective, that's unfortunate.
Right.
So yeah, because that game could have gone. Oh, well, I mean, I guess after the second team scores, it'll just be sudden death.
It'll just be sudden death after that.
It'll just be sudden death.
It won't matter. The third team that has it will win, right?
But there's a chance that, you score on 1 or 2 or 3 drives in a row. There's your chances go down. Eventually,
right,
you're not going to score.
Correct.
So it will start going back and forth. And then there is, but I do like that there is at the end of, if one team gets a possession, scores touchdown, next team gets a possession, scores touchdown, and that period ends.
Yes.
Because it is an overtime period.
Right.
It'll still just be a tie, right?
Not
during the regular season.
So the rule only applies to postseason games, not regular season games.
Oh.
So it's only
regular
postseason.
Season will still have the normal. The previous. That's
correct.
That's dumb.
That's what I said. That's dumb. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, apply it all the way across.
No, it's only for overtime games.
They'll change that in a year or so.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, that's just a few moments behind.
And yeah, if they were still tied at the end of that first, at the end of a quarter of overtime, they would play another quarter.
So you're saying we could get, like, really long playoff
games? You could. I mean, there's more chance of it now than there was. But
really,
it's going
to be 2 offensive possessions and then
it's the same as it was before. Well, the first 2 offensive possessions, and then it's going to be the same as it was before. Well, whoever scores, it's going to be sudden death after that. So yeah, I don't think you'll go more than the 15-minute quarter.
Yeah.
But, yeah. In the regular season, it's a 10-minute overtime quarter, which is dumb. I don't know.
Just put a quarter on there, and if it's still tied, put another quarter on there.
I don't understand the rules. I'm not.
I've never understood why overtime is that confusing of a thing for the league to get a man. Just put more time on the clock.
Right.
Damn CBA.
I know, right?
They don't want to play.
And so there's the picture of, since we're out of order, there's my picture of Andy Dalton, who's Carson Wentz's older brother, by the way.
He's got a great beard.
He does, doesn't he? Do him and Carson Wentz do not look like they could be brothers?
In some pictures.
Oh, yeah, well, that depends on the hairstyle.
In this picture, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they're both wearing football uniforms and have red hair. Yeah.
I was going further than that, but it's okay. Anyway, so, and then also we want to talk about the fact that Bruce Arians is now going to be moved to the quote-unquote front office.
Right.
He's moving. We don't know what that is. We don't know what his role is, but he's moving to the front office. And, of course, they're saying it's his decision. He's even saying it's his decision. Is it his decision is my question. So defensive coordinator Todd Bowles will now be the head coach for Tampa. And I question whether that's actually his decision or if there was some bad blood between Tom Brady and Bruce Arians at some point in time, which they're going to all deny.
Everyone's saying this now, but I don't know when I ever heard this.
Listen to how that makes sense, though. Tom Brady says, well, I'm going to retire. And then at some point in time, the Tampa ownership or whoever, the leadership says, hey, could we convince you to come back if we had a different head coach? And he goes, yes, I could be convinced to come back. And that's what happened. I mean, that just sounds okay. That sounds like Tom Brady. It sounds like LeBron James. It sounds like Tom Brady. It sounds like I would believe that they want it the way they want it. And maybe he wasn't happy with Bruce Arians this year. He was last year because they won a Super Bowl. Not happy with him this year for whatever reason. He decides, well, maybe, I could be convinced to step down or move to a different role, and then Todd Bowles takes over, and Tom Brady's okay with that. And I don't know. It sounds plausible. It may not be. None of that may be true. But
Yeah, I don't. I just normally you hear about Tom Brady's discontent with Bruce Arians. Like I didn't hear anything about this over the last 2 years.
there was some
They had some headbutting over some play calling,
right.
but he did that with Bill Belichick. I watched him throw a helmet while arguing with Bill Belichick one year.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if that's a real thing.
I don't either. But
I feel like Bruce Arians has enough health issues that you could say that
true.
okay, I see why you're not going to be standing on a knee scooter on the field every game and things like that. Like I kind of get what's going on here.
How come Bruce Arians has to carry like an entire soundboard on his body?
Yeah,
No other coach in the NFL has that.
There's
that thing.
Sean McVay has the Batman utility belt that he carries.
Yeah, he does.
That's got a lot on it.
He does.
Yeah, but he does. He wears it like a sling, like it goes across his body.
It looks like he's getting ready to DJ somewhere, and he's got these buttons, and I don't know. It's weird. I didn't understand it. I thought it was a medical device at first. Honestly.
Maybe there is one on there.
I don't know.
I mean, I haven't looked too close at his utility pack.
I haven't either, but I assumed it was sound, it was audio related, but I don't know. Anyway, it's just weird when you see one guy who's way different than the rest of them. I'm like, I don't know what he's got on there. Why does he need that? Nobody else has that. All right. Anyway, just thought I'd point that out. So
he does. He wears it. I just think it's not that bad. I'm looking at pictures of it right now.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, he wore it around his waist. It was only like the last season or two that he started kind of wearing it slung across his chest.
Yeah.
And it's just 3 things on there.
Yeah, but it looks huge.
It looks huge, but it looks like Darth Vader because it's in the front,
right,
like where it sits.
Right.
But it's literally just your headset, and then there's a preamp on there. That's it.
I just find it strange. That's all.
It looks like a lot, but it's not.
We couldn't get a guy to follow him and hold it. I mean, whatever.
Well, as much as they move,
he doesn't move that much. Now,
well, not anymore.
He's not a Pete Carroll.
Well, that's why he's retiring.
That's right. I guess that's true. He's not a Pete Carroll who just walks up and down the sideline incessantly the whole game. He's not that guy. But all right. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just saying. It just looks weird. He's the only guy out there wearing this big giant square thing on the front of him, and I'm like, what does that do? And why can't somebody else hold it for you? Or why can't we make it smaller? It's 21st century. Anyway.
Well, so it's funny because they actually have to be like at PSU. I had to put them on like the coaches.
Yeah.
Like, and they're not too big. I don't know, maybe 4 inches by 5 inches, like, and then maybe 1.5 inches deep or something like that. So it's a decent little shape and size. And they're definitely cumbersome, but they have to be. They like the transmittance in them has to be enough to overcome all of the interference in the stadium.
Oh. Okay.
And there are thousands of cell phones, tens of thousands of cell phones, and tons of electronics.
I hear you.
And it has to cut through not only that, but then you're dealing with what's it called? But then it has to work against its own. It has to have like a bunch of different channels that it can operate on because there's an offense channel, offense A, offense B, defense A, defensive B. There's a co-channel which does both of them. They actually like flick through them a lot. Like you're jumping through your channels a ton. Coach has got quite a bit to do on those headsets.
We got a couple more things I want to talk about. We're running out of time because we've gone long. It's what we do. It's what we're good at. U.S. men's national team, right? So they beat, they tied Mexico last week 1-1. Then they beat Panama 5-1. Then they lost last night to Costa Rica 2-0. However, they still qualified for Qatar in 2022, the World Cup, which starts in November, by the way. It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
It's the first time they've qualified in a couple of cycles. And I didn't think they'd do it. I honestly didn't. I thought they were struggling, and I didn't see them getting through. They don't win some games that they should win, and here was your chance to clinch last. They haven't won at Costa Rica in World Cup qualifying ever, by the way. They've never won there. So I guess I shouldn't have expected anything else. But
that's why it was so important to win before that.
Right. And then all they had to do was not lose by more than 5 goals. And they were qualified automatically, which is pretty easy to do for the most part. But they're through. They're in. They're the 3rd place team from CONCACAF, from their region. So I don't know. The fact they finished behind Mexico, who's not a very good team. I don't think Mexico's great. at all. This is not your typical Mexican team. And Canada, who's been really surprising. I don't know how good they are because really only seen them play against the CONCACAF teams, and I don't know that any of them are any good.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting when we see the seeding for the World Cup when that finally gets the final draw gets put out to see what kind of
everyone
groups
ends
they're
up.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
The United States famously has been put with in horrendous draws, just ridiculous bad. I mean,
outside their class, you mean?
yeah, just the teams have been
Teams that are really good.
What they call the group of death.
Group of death.
That's
yeah.
usually where the United States gets put because
Is that a conspiracy by the World Soccer, powers to keep
Maybe.
the U.S. down, keep
Maybe.
them out of one of the sports?
Maybe we don't want you guys to be part of our sport because this is not. You guys don't belong.
You guys don't belong here.
Yes.
Go back to your American football.
Yeah, right. You guys have your own football. I don't know. Maybe. We talk about Jerry Jones for just a minute.
Jones.
Jerry Jones got a lawsuit against him by a lady named Alexandra Davis, who's a congressional aide to a Texas representative, Ronnie Davis. Not Ronnie Davis. What's Ronnie's name? He used to be the doctor for Donald Trump.
Man, this I do not know.
Ronnie Jackson, that's his name.
Right
So
on.
Ronnie Jackson was the doctor for Donald Trump when he was president, right? The one that came out and
Right.
gave him a clean bill of health. Oh, he's in excellent health. And nobody believed him. But all right.
Right.
So now he's a representative in Texas, and his congressional aide, 25-year-old Alexander Davis, is suing Jerry Jones because she says he's her father, and she's been
Right.
under some sort of order. I don't know. Since
Her mother.
her
was.
mother, right, saying that
Right.
she couldn't say that
Right.
since she was one, I guess. And so why would you have an agreement that says I'm not allowed to say who my father is if he's not your father? There would be no reason to have one, right? But
Right.
clearly there is one, so I clearly believe her. If there was some sort of agreement, I'm agreeing. I mean, I have to believe that that's true. Otherwise, there wouldn't be an agreement. Why would you need an agreement for? Oh, you can't go around saying he doesn't do that with anybody else's kids.
Right.
But this one,
He doesn't have an agreement with all the other parents
right,
out there.
right. So this one, I fully believe her now because there is an agreement out there, and she's just trying. She doesn't even want any money. All she's saying is, I want to be able to say he's my dad,
Right.
and I'm okay with that.
People hear the phrase lawsuit and they think that there's money involved, and she doesn't want money. She just wants to be able to say this.
Right. And this is on the heels of Jerry Jones' other daughter. I don't know if that's the way to phrase it now or whether she is or not. But Charlotte, his daughter Charlotte, has a divorce going on with her husband. It's apparently very heated.
Right.
And then also they had the voyeurism lawsuit with Richard Dalrymple, one of their executives for the Cowboys, who was apparently watching the cheerleaders in the locker room. I don't know.
Sounds right.
They had to settle out of court for something like $2.4 million or something. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on in Dallas, and I don't understand. But Jerry Jones claims it's all extortion. They're all trying to extort money from him. Everybody who has ever filed or will file a lawsuit is just trying to get money from him. And the problem is that what's her name doesn't want any money. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
But he's trying to lump it all together and make it sound like everybody's money hungry. Well, okay, but
it's a good way to distract from what's going on.
Correct. Yeah.
Calling people money hungry, especially with with his base,
Yes.
is a nice way to get people to just rule people out.
Correct. Anyway,
Yeah.
just thought I'd throw that out there. This is what is behind the scenes of NFL owners. Not all of them. Jerry Jones has been around a long time, and he probably won't be around forever. I mean, at some point in time, he's going to have to be gone. But his whole family is involved in that organization. His daughter, his son, his two sons, both sons, all of them hold executive vice president things in the organization.
Yeah.
Whether they're qualified to or not, their family. So nepotism always works. I don't know. Good question.
I think no matter what, it'll be better than having Jerry Jones there.
It probably would be.
I mean, it might run it into the ground faster.
Yeah.
Like if they're not very qualified to do their job, but it's at this point, Jerry's not helping the team.
Not really.
It doesn't matter if somebody else doesn't help the team. Let's at least try somebody new.
Right. It would be better with somebody else. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This is a state. You stayed in the game too long.
Yeah, I think so.
You had a really good time. You had a heyday. You did well in the early 2000s. You were still really competitive and things like that. Once it got to be about 2010 or so, and your team started becoming a little bit of a joke,
Yeah.
it might have been time for you to distance a little bit.
Yeah. But we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
We'll keep everybody up to date. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting though. We'll see what happens. I think he's got a lot going on to be. He also tries to run that club, and you really
He's like their president of operations, right?
as
Or something like that.
as an owner, I wouldn't do that. If I had enough money and I could buy a football team, I would sit there. I would hire somebody who knows a heck of a lot more than I do to go out and do stuff. You know what I mean? And that way, also, you don't have when there's questions about player personnel or whatever, it doesn't come on me. It's on some other guy, and I can say, well, we can get rid of him. Find another guy. You know what I mean? To me, it'd be the stress-free way to do it. Why he's doing it the hard way, I don't know. He just can't. Some people can't keep their hands off. That's just how they are.
And I get that. If you feel like you can do a better job, he's just gonna try and do the better job. Like,
Yeah, well, that's true.
He's not gonna let somebody else do it when he feels like he could do it way better.
That's true.
So,
So also, more pictures, but anyway, we're done with that. So let's talk about Tiger Woods real quick. Tiger played a full 18 holes at Augusta on Tuesday with his son Charlie and close friend Justin Thomas. Rory McIlroy was actually at Augusta on Tuesday and said, I think for golf and the Masters tournament and for everyone, to have Tiger there would be phenomenal. Talking about whether he'd play in the tournament. And it would be. He's not wrong. Woods has 15 major championships in his career, and that includes 5 Masters titles. By the way, Jack Nicklaus has 6 Masters titles and 18 majors. And that was the big thing when he was in his heyday. Would he catch Jack Nicklaus? And with all of his injuries, it's I don't know. I don't think that's possible. For him to win 3 more major tournaments, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's going to happen. But
yeah,
could he put it all together for one of them? Absolutely. I mean, still. Anyway, he's one of only 5 men that have completed a career Grand Slam, that have won all 4 of the majors in his career. So it's not easy to do. But anyway, it would be great for golf. I agree. I think if Tiger was back at the Masters, I think it would be great. Even if he only plays a couple rounds, whatever, it still is Tiger at the Masters, and it still generates TV and well, ticket sales are already sold, so it really doesn't matter. But it still generates good TV.
I don't think you ever have to worry about attendance to the Masters.
No.
I think you have to worry about viewership.
Yeah.
I think that's what'll drown you, because if it's not exciting,
right?
I mean, you have the diehards. They're always gonna watch it. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
That's it. But you want people to, if you want to generate more interest, then you gotta put on a little spectacle, and Tiger Woods is a great way to do that.
He absolutely is. I think you want him there. I mean, it's a good part of the history, the lore of the Masters. Greatest player to ever play there, maybe. I don't know for sure, because Jack Nicklaus has more titles. Ooh. So anyway, all right, let's go back to the trivia question, because we're done. Unless you got a minute, unless you got something you want to talk about.
I do not know.
Okay,
no.
All right, we'll do the trivia questions there. So the where am I at? I don't know what I'm doing. Don't listen to me. So this is the Best Lamb Sports Show trivia question, brought to you by Stave & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. The winery at the Vineyard, 3827 Fletcher Drive, open 7 days a week from 12 to 6 for indoor and patio dining. The downtown tasting room, 12 to 6 Thursday through Sunday. Call 541-490-9461 for the tasting room downtown, or 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750 for more information. You can email them at info@staveandstone.com. You can get reservations on the website, or you can make reservations by calling them. Either way, get a reservation, go out there and taste some great wine. Stave & Stone, the winner of the 2021 Best Local Winery in the Best of the Gorge Awards. So the trivia question was, do you even remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
Teams with the most tournament appearances without a win.
Correct. Teams with the most, there's 2 of them tied with 8 tournament appearances who have never won an NCAA tournament game. And who are they?
I'm going to go with Montana.
Well, that's a good choice.
I thought Big Sky would be good.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't think of another one. Let's go with like UTEP.
Oh, that's another good choice, except both of those are wrong.
Oh.
So the answer is, do I even put it up? Gosh, I hope I put it on here. Where's my answer? I'm clicking on it. The Boise State Broncos.
Yeah.
And the Eastern Kentucky Colonels.
Is Boise State in the same conference as UTEP?
Mountain West, I don't know if they're in the same conference or not.
Oh, interesting. Eastern Kentucky Colonels.
The Eastern Kentucky from the Ohio Valley Conference. They've been in 8 times, never won a basketball game. So anyway, so that's just. And for some other stats, useless stats for you, Duke has the highest winning percentage in NCAA tournament history. It's at 752, so which is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
North Carolina, Duke, and Kansas are 2, 3, and 4 in terms of wins in NCAA tournament history. They're all in the Final Four, and Villanova's 11th. So when we talk about the Blue Bloods, I mean they're all right behind Kentucky, and just ahead of UCLA.
Right.
So. Anyway, those are the teams. And by the way, all of those teams have blue. When they talk about blue bloods in basketball, it is true. They all have blue. I don't know if that's where it came from, but
I thought there was one exception to that rule.
To the blue bloods?
Yeah, I thought there was one team out there that they referred to as a blue blood that was not a blue team, but I cannot think of who it is.
Yeah, I don't know either. I wouldn't know off the top of my
Indiana.
Head. Oh, I guess Indiana, but they haven't been relevant for a long time. But yes.
Yeah, they're saying that the generally agreed upon 6 blue bloods are Kentucky, UCLA, UNC, Kansas, Duke, and Indiana.
Okay, I would go with that. Yeah. Sure.
But they're the next 4 in are Louisville, UConn, Michigan State, Syracuse.
Right.
So.
Yeah, UConn also has blue. Anyway.
Well, they're not part of the blue 6, right. The original ones. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so we'll see. And UConn had their day. They haven't been relevant in a little while either. So it's been interesting that these teams that cycle in and out, you see them and they're good for a little while and they're gone. I mean, that's kind of the way it is. But you always have those teams that are good. It's the same way in football, So
I would say you could also say Indiana had their day and they haven't been good in a while.
They haven't been good in a while. Not great. Not good enough to win a tournament in a while. Anyway, so I guess that's all we have. I guess that's it for today. Let me figure out the appropriate music. Which one do we want to hear? I mean, that's the question.
Let's go with the sweet one.
Yeah, that one?
Yep.
Okay. We'll use that as the out. So all we have for today, we're going to be back next week. That's Wednesday, April the 6th, I think. It might be Thursday. I don't know. We're going to record it, and we'll put it on YouTube, and you'll be able to do it at your leisure. We're going to have NBA, NHL next week. We're going to talk about that as we're heading near the playoffs. We'll talk about the NCAA basketball champions, because we will have crowned one by then. More MLS soccer ties, because it's going to be. Any other NFL news that pops up, and anything else that we can think of. We're about to run into that part of the year where there's not as much to talk about. We're going to have to go deep on some things. So it's going to get more interesting and more discussion related. That's right. Yeah, it's going to be more fun. Anyway, again, we're streaming on YouTube every week. We're on Twitter at Lamb Sports. We're on Facebook for the Best Lamb Sports Show. You can email us at lambsports@gmail.com. I want to thank ESPN, NFL, Fox Sports, the NBA, MLS, NBC, CBS Sports, and of course our sponsors, the Rain in Yakima, Boston United, Savings Stonewine Estates, Inhead River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media, LLC, and we'll see you next week.